in that quantum physics field, all possibilities are available. Yeah. And so if you're, for example, in a mood emotionally that is not the greatest, you actually have, through the power of your intention, you can tap into that other possibility, that other potential that is also available. Instead of sadness, that you feel joy, and instead of anger, you feel peace. So you can literally, even if you don't see it, you always have access to it. Yeah. And that access is available for everyone. The seeing is not available for everyone, but the access to that quantum field is for everybody, as easily accessible.
Welcome to the MINDTRX podcast with breakthrough ideas to live your best life possible and how to make it happen. I'm Paul Scheele, and today we will be talking with Marie Diamond. Marie Diamond is one of the world's top transformational leaders, speakers, and best-selling authors, and is the only European star featured in the worldwide phenomenon, The Secret. She merges her intuitive knowledge of the law of attraction with her studies of quantum physics, meditation, Feng Shui, and dowsing to transform the success of individuals and corporations worldwide. Hello, Marie. It's so good to be with you. Thanks for joining this podcast.
Well, it's so lovely to be with you, Paul, and with all your listeners and viewers. So excited.
Me too. You know, I've always enjoyed a special quality that you have. Actually, I think it's a skill. Perhaps it's innate, but I'd like to talk about it. I think of you as someone who understands that we're living in an energetic universe, and you are a rare person who actually perceives the flow of energy that's in us, that's through us, that's all around us. I'm wondering, why is it important for people to recognize that they're more than just objects in a three-dimensional world or four-dimension with time and space? Why is it important to recognize our energetic nature?
Well, I think, first of all, Paul, that I would say thousands of years ago, and perhaps even hundreds of years ago, people were much more in touch with that energetic universe. And that there were always people, if you would call them shamans or high priests in mystery schools in Egypt, or the Greek culture, the Roman culture even, the Druids in the Celtic universe, the Celtic culture, that were able to connect in with that energetic component of the universe around us. And I'm sure there are some people that never really got in touch with that, or perhaps they are not consciously evolved enough to get beyond the physical world or the physical awareness. But I do believe that always has been accessible, and that perhaps the ones that had, I don't call it a skill set, but a higher awareness to tap into it, that could see, could feel, could experience that energetic component of the universe in us and around us. And I think we're now in a time where the access for the people that are not the shamans, that are not the high priests, that are not the druids, have now, because of evolvement and evolution of consciousness, have now access to see that energetic component. So we are in a time of awakening, but I feel that awakening is to see beyond the physical world also.
Okay, so why would it be important for humanity to awaken to this perhaps latent potential, certainly for modern humanity?
Well, I think the importance is, if you are opening up to that you are living differently. when you are in that experience, because then you are not focused on gaining more physical well-being, or even perhaps first on survival level. You need to have enough on the physical level, food and shelter and money, to be feeling happy. But that the more you're opening up to that, you start seeing there is another level of I would say happiness, literally, because you connect in with the energy field, and you live from that conscious to always follow that flow and to be in that the highest frequency possible. I do believe happiness is not about being happy with the physical world, but to be living in that energetic experience and to follow the flow of that energy, and to be in the highest frequency of that energy flow yourself all the time. And then you create something completely different. You start feeling, because you were just talking about the fourth dimension, time and space, is that you can overcome time and space, that you are literally feeling you're always in a different flow with time, a different flow with the space around you and where you live. And then you create another level of well-being, another level of really existence.
Well, this, for me, this is the idea that we start to see that our lives are lived in a much more sacred way, that we're not living just a merely mundane existence. And certainly we could practice that if we sat in front of a meal and we take a moment to pray over the food, to be grateful for it. We're elevating it from a mundane existence of just chowing down, right, on the run with a burger, to something which is very important for my physiology, for my well-being, for the work I'm doing in the world. And moving from the mundane to sacred. And literally the folks that I feel really get this, everything is sacred. Everything is miraculous. Our heartbeat, our breath, this moment, it's special, it's unique, it's worthy of our full attention. Now, how is that transition or transformation of our experience going to help us on a physical, emotional, and mental level? Because you kind of touched on each of those, but let's break that down. Let's start just at the physical level. Why would this make a difference for my physical well-being and maybe even my healing if I'm experiencing disease right now?
Well, if we look into the sacredness of things, and if you connecting with the sacred experience, then you literally connecting with the essence of the energy that is in everything. And becoming aware of it, is that for your food, if that is when you go to sleep, you look at the house around you, that's all the physical things, the things you're wearing, the places you're traveling to, that whole physical experience, you start seeing there is a divine presence, or a higher presence, if what you would call, or soul presence, in everything on the physical level. I believe if you connect with that sacredness, you start standing still, that there is a higher creative force that has created that physicality. And by standing still and being aware of it, you're honoring that energy of it. You are connecting with it. And then even your physical experience becomes different. And I think that sacredness is what I would say in history, some people were in touch with, but that now, because we have become more and more physically, I would say, over satisfied with all physical experiences, products that we never had before. We could go to places that, we never could go before. We have so much on the physical level, but we lost that, I would say, the sacred experience of having and connecting in what is given, or what we experience, through our physical life. And going back to what sometimes people call basics is perhaps not going back to basics, but going back to the sacred way of life.
Nice. I love that distinction. And so if I'm, let me tell a little backstory. You and I were in Santa Fe and we were recording your Diamond Feng Shui home study program. And you and I were living in a casita close to where the studio was. And one evening we did a meditation and I asked you about actually seeing energy because I'd never seen energy as if I was seeing it through my physical eyes. Yeah. And what I did is I took a candlestick and I set it at the end of the counter, and all of a sudden, it was almost like if I was on a drug experience or something, but it was as if all these tiny little red ants, these little energetic movements were taking place and following to that candlestick and then going straight up that candlestick. And for the first time, I thought, now I get why placing some objects in a certain area of the room can actually change the energy. So when you talk about the clothing or the jewelry or the condition of our car, or the way our home looks or any of that, shifting that physical energy has a profound influence on everything that's going on underneath it, like at a quantum mechanical level. Is that a description that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I don't remember that story anymore. You have a better memory than me, probably. But the whole point is that we always think that we're just living in that physical, mechanical world. What I always shared with people, that everything, even in your environment, is part of that quantum physics field.
Okay.
And even if we see it's a phone, for example, but it's not a phone, it is a condensation of energy that comes forward as a phone. If we see a pen, this is energy, but it's a condensation of the energy that for our awareness shows up as a pen or a pencil. So it is all energy, but there's, through the frequency, the heaviness of the frequency, we actually see it as more physical. And people that see energy, like me, we actually see the pencil, of course, but we can like shift in our awareness or our brain. We can actually see the energy, just that is on that quantum field. Yeah?
Yes.
And so that's actually what the difference is for the seers. Yeah.
And what's important about the phone and the pen is that the condensation that produced it was actually human consciousness. It's a product of one's intention and purpose and focus that brought it about. I mean, there may have been thousands of people and many inventions that went into creating that phone, right? If we look at all of it. But this is an accumulation of energy and focus to bring about that thing.
Correct. But we also have to understand from the quantum physics field that pen and that phone are connected, with each other. And so if you look from the quantum physics perspective, you see the flow of energy between it. There's no space between that pencil and the phone in the quantum physics field. But from a physical perspective, they look like two different items. Yeah. So just like what in the movie Avatar, the two movies from Avatar, they kind of focus on that how there is an interconnection. And what is between it is what, of course, in the Chinese traditions, they would call qi, right? The energy that is present in everything that exists, but also between everything and surrounding everything that exists. And tapping into that quantum physics field is what seers actually really do. Yeah, they can see beyond. It's like their eyes are an expression of what the brain, as you are an expert in brain, is projecting. But it's like my eyes see different things than what you are seeing. I see, of course, your physical things, but I see the other things too. Because my brain is connected with that consciousness and has aligned with it or tapped into it. I don't know how to express the right words, so I can see beyond that physical realm.
Yes, and it's been fascinating for me to have those kinds of glimpses. I've had them on a couple of occasions where in psychology and physics, we talk about the explicate order. This is the order of the outer. And then there's the implicate order. That's the energy that's behind all things, behind all these appearances. So even if I can't see that, and I want to move from the physical to the emotional and then to the mental. So even if I can't see those things, I can still direct that energy to operate for my well-being. So how can I use this awareness that you're talking about to shift my emotions, to be able to manage my moods, my emotional state, and to connect emotionally more effectively with others?
Well, I think we have to understand that in that quantum physics field, all possibilities are available. Yeah. And so if you're, for example, in a mood emotionally that is not the greatest, you actually have, through the power of your intention, you can tap into that other possibility, that other potential that is also available. Instead of sadness, that you feel joy, and instead of anger, you feel peace. So you can literally, even if you don't see it, you always have access to it. Yeah. And that access is available for everyone. The seeing is not available for everyone, but the access to that quantum field is for everybody, as easily accessible. Yeah. Of course, the more you practice it, the more you work with certain techniques, the faster the response time will be between you tapping into it and feeling the change in your emotional field. Yeah. So the more you practice it, the faster it shifts, because it's like almost, I call it the quantum muscle. Like you have used your muscle to get into connection with the quantum field.
Nice. So people who have throughout, I guess, the last 100 years talked about having a positive mental attitude or positive mindset, or to think happy thoughts, or like our friend Chen Yi says, when you smile, it starts my internal love engine. I just love that phrase. Yeah. So all of these are practices that help elevate our energy to resonate at a higher level. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, correct. But it's not just our intention. That is, for example, in Feng Shui, we also know that the quantum field of our home, if we direct the energy there and put some intentions through colors, through positioning, through images around you, it will affect your emotional well-being. Because it's not just you, the physical body, and the practice in your physical body, but it's also what is around you. Or even if you would go into nature for a walk, or you go on the lake, on a boat, you literally are surrounding yourself with a calmer, a more peaceful surrounding, through the connection in the quantum physics field that says we are all connected and linked. That will affect our emotional mood. So it's not just what we create in ourselves, but what is in the environment, or the environment we choose to be, or even the people we choose to be. Yeah. Or the conversations we choose to be in, is actually affecting our emotional field. So it's not, there's no difference between the phone and the pencil, also through the emotional field.
Nice.
Yeah,
so I remember when we were recording the Diamond Feng Shui program, you made a statement about just changing the energy of the room by feng shuiing the room. You actually shift a person's brainwave frequencies. And I put that into the recording, and my business partner, Pete Bissonette, said, "You can't say that." I said, "Well, let's test it." So I put a brainwave analyzer on one of our employees and brought her into a room that was completely feng shuied and one that was chaotic, that wasn't feng shuied. And no kidding, immediately upon going in the room, the brainwave changed exactly as you said it would. So could you talk, I don't want to get into a lot of explanation of feng shui, but could you just say enough to say, what does it mean to feng shui a room, to raise the vibration, to improve the energy? What does that mean?
Well, Feng Shui is an energy system, like the same as we would look into Qigong or Tai Chi or acupuncture. I believe that the shamans of the Chinese traditions, they could see the shift of energy if they pressured, a certain point. But also they understood the quantum physics field without knowing that name, of course, that if they change a position or put a different color, that there was a ripple effect through the quantum field to the aura field and through the physical body of a person. So as you put it with the brain scanner, if you could say that, I do believe they could see it in the aura field, and because that's what I experienced, that's what I saw. That when I started practicing feng shui at 15 already, and then later on, really more professionally, when I changed something, I could see the shift in that quantum physics field and how it literally I would say the energy of the brain. Yeah, it's like I could see the waves. Yeah, that because energy is expressed in waves, and so or in a grid almost like so I could see that shifting. Yeah, and I could see the calmness of the waves happening. What if indeed if you go from beta into alpha, you actually have a calmer wave of the brainwave. And so I start seeing that. So when I then studied more about the brainwaves, I knew that was what I was seeing. And you were so kind to prove that, that was true, right? So,
Yeah.
but we all feel it when we go to a place and we are like, I don't like it here. There's a vibe, I don't like it here. So it's like your natural vibration, a harmonic frequency comes to a place and it's chaos. Yeah. And you leave that space and then you go to other areas and you're like, oh, I love hanging out here. There's not really a reason why. It could be almost similar to space. There's a vibrational field that we are vibrational matchmakers in a way. So our body always matches or wants to match the vibration around us, or with a person, or with a home, or with nature. So there are some people that are not aware of it enough, and they kind of allow what is around them to become absorbed in that lower frequency, and they don't make a decision to get away from it or to change something because they feel like it's not a right match for me. Yeah. And so they are not taking action upon it. So feng shui is in that sense an energy system that helps you to direct and guide the the energy around you to match your highest possible frequency, and to also make sure your brain waves are much more, I would say, in an aspect of well-being, of harmony. And so because of that, then again you open up even more to live in a different experience of energy.
So you've actually already answered then the next question, which is about our mental well-being, how we can shift our mental well-being by an understanding of this recognition of the energy around us and within us and the universe that we're living in as energetic. I remember a client of mine, when she and her husband would get into a conflict of any kind, he would just go into the basement and wouldn't talk to her for 2-3 days. And he would watch violent movies, isolate, go into violence. I mean, I'm thinking about the negativity that he was feeling and dealing with. How could my client, for example, start to intervene in a situation like that? Or perhaps I have a teenage son who's gone into negative energies and reading and movies and interactions with others, how can we begin to gently shift the trajectory of a person's life by an understanding of these concepts?
Well, in that case of your client, so he felt violent and unhappy, and so he looked for a matchmaking vibration around him,
That makes
where
sense.
that's kind of what he was doing. So he literally going, for example, in the basement, or underground. That is like he wanted to connect in with that field. He went like back into the womb of his experience, or the womb of the mother, perhaps he had some bad experiences on when he was in the womb of the mother, even if he was not like physically out. He kind of went back into space. And I see a lot of times people that have certain bad experiences, that's all they experience when they were young. So they try to calibrate themselves, to go there, because it feels it's very interesting. It feels almost like comforting to be in that pain.
Familiar somehow, right?
Familiar, correct.
Yeah.
They're familiar. So he went into like that violence, but perhaps that's what he experienced, as a child, and it felt very comfortable. So what we say if we look at, for example, Feng Shui or the energy universe, is that you have to make also a conscious decision to step out of it. Yeah. And that is through practice. That is perhaps through certain techniques that you're using. But most people, they stay in the matchmaking lower frequencies, by, for example, keep watching things on television, or being on gaming, all the time, where there's a lot of violence there, because it sustains their lower frequency. So what I have seen, and that's what I've been working a lot around over the 30 years of practice and more, is that sometimes people cannot shift out of it themselves. They're not even open then to certain techniques like meditation or breath work or qigong, or they're not even open to it. But if we would work with the environment, and we put some other colors there, that it works on a very subconscious level, or we place certain images differently, or we even reposition their desk, because there are certain directions based on your birthday that your brain automatically will access easier alpha brainwaves. And there are certain directions that when you're focused towards that, like say if you're gaming or if you're watching television, you go easier holding on to that beta level of your brainwaves. So just by shifting that, I've seen people suddenly, I remember this one boy, and he was like, 14, hours and hours gaming. And I said to the mother, we were going to shift his desk, so that he will never allow it. So just let me try it. We're going to repaint the color of the room. We're going to put a few plants out, in his space, even if they're fake, it doesn't matter, just subconscious messages. And after a while, because he had only friends online on the gaming console, like he was always there, suddenly he said to his mom, I'm going out for a walk. I'm going to meet up with some friends. And she's like, he hadn't done that for a year, but because we put his images around and his brainwave opened up differently, he suddenly was like less and less on his games, because I couldn't directly communicate with him because he was so in that field and his brain could not go there. So I worked through on the mind level of his home, like not his own mindset, but environmental mindsets in a way. So that is how it really works, that because there is a connection with everything, just changing something around is like acupuncture almost of the home. It changed the vibration of the brain. And I think that's what I'm still very grateful for, that you tested this out, because this brought the information of Feng Shui to a whole other level, because I could see it, but still it was not proven. Yeah.
Yeah, this is gorgeous. And I think about how many people suffer addictions, that they become so isolated in their unfortunate mental or emotional or even physical states. And this is a way of really waking people up to a potential energy that's all around them. It's very much available, but for whatever reason, they don't have access to it. So I know that in my own life, when I was a child, prayer was very helpful to calm me down. Years later, in my teens, I found meditation. It was essential for me when I was going to university. And it calmed me down and really opened up my consciousness a lot to what is the real potential of who I am as a human being in this world. The idea that we might create a sacred space devoted to these kinds of practices, where I could sit in meditation, where I could surround myself at a certain time of the day. This was really important in the Himalayan tradition of yoga science and philosophy. How can anyone that's listening start the process of creating a special or a sacred place to purposefully connect with these kinds of energies we're talking about?
Well, I would say it will be for everybody different, first of all.
Okay.
That's the first step I always say to people. It could be for you walking with your dog twice a day, right? Where you are outside, walking a certain rhythm. Yeah. But perhaps you have been doing that and you feel like, oh, that hasn't shifted something. But just literally, instead of looking down on the street, looking more up, like literally lifting your chin and seeing at least like 100 yards or 100 meters in front of you. Yeah, just changes. And you know more than me about this, your mindset. Or you're looking around like, oh, what a beautiful tree, acknowledging, oh, this is a beautiful human being. Let me say hello with a smile. Oh, there is, a rainbow. Oh, appreciating that. So start even by in your life, if it's walking or as you're going in nature or just being in your home, being with your family, with your friends, become aware of the beauty that is present in every moment. Yeah. So like, for example, I'm looking at your beautiful background and the beautiful bouquet of flowers that just, I've been seeing and looking at. So it is all in that moment that you're living, becoming more aware of the beauty, the gratitude, looking at things differently. Yeah. So literally, perhaps you go to your work every day, a certain route, but you have not even looked at that there's a beautiful sunrise every morning as you're driving to your work, or you let somebody pass over and you be kind to them. There's little things to start with. So because a lot of people first think, oh, I need to create space and I need to create time in my day, and I said for some people it's not so easy to do that. Yeah. So why don't you start where you are already doing? Yeah. And shift that very gently. Yeah. In small ways. Yeah. And then you will start seeing that there is time. Yeah. It's like the time is 5 minutes being up earlier, or 5 minutes going to bed later, where you then perhaps read a book, or you are journaling, or you're taking time for meditation, or you just take time to express your gratitude, just small little steps. And then you will start finding more and more the space, like, yes, I do have time to go deeper and do that daily practice. And you will attract, and I also seen that the more you're opening up to it, you will attract, could be an author, could be a teacher, could be a technique, could be a modality that relates with you. Not everybody is into yoga. I mean, I'm not into yoga at all, but for others, it's the perfect thing for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you will attract it, but you have to start shifting very, very gently for yourself to open up to the energy that is always present around you.
I love that. It's the idea that we started with, is taking what we are normally seeing as just the mundane everyday experience and seeing something a little more deeply in it. You know, my wife, Libby, is an artist, and her teachers always said, see more deeply. The Grand Canyon could be in your very backyard. You don't have to travel to Arizona to find anything that could really draw your interest. For me, I really love what you've referred to as sheng chi, the mountain chi. I love being in the Rocky Mountains. I love going into the Appalachian Mountains. I love that energy. And for me, that's a special time, but I can't get there. I don't live there, so it's difficult. So why don't I find that kind of energy more available to me at any moment in time? I love that. I have a beautiful photograph of the Swiss Alps.
Yeah.
I see it every day when I come into my office space. You know, it just reminds me of that energy. So I think there's two things that I've heard from you more than any others, placing objects like that raise your energy. The other is to be able to declutter, to try to take some of those piles of energy that are just accumulating negatively and creating more blockage and try to clear those up. Could you give a quick hint of where a person might start? Because I've also heard you say that if there's a pile, it kind of attracts more of it, right?
Yeah.
It just keeps building up, and it always happens in that same spot. What can we do in our space to try to declutter some of that clogged energy?
Well, first of all, I will think about you tomorrow, because tomorrow I go for a week to the Swiss Alps.
Oh, yes. I'll think about you there.
So, but as you were sharing that the mountain chi, so it actually means the highest frequency that we can tap into, where there's well-being and peace and balance. It is present in every space.
Oh.
Of course, in the mountains, there's more of it, yeah, but it's also in your office, it's in your kitchen, it's always present because it's part of the energy universe. Yeah. So if we then start understanding that the objects around us can create the way you place them, for example, by just having the image of the Swiss Alps, subconsciously it gives you a reminder of that vibration. Even if you're not physically there, the moment you see it, your body imagines it to be there, and it creates that flow similar as being in the mountains. So if you think about the sheng qi or the mountain qi, we also have something called sha qi, that means negative qi, that each time you are putting things together in a chaotic way, can be on your desk, can be on your nightstand, can be on the ground, that literally things that are not created in order, yeah, create the opposite. And so your brain waves, through the mirror effect in our brain, we actually create also that chaos that is outside of us, literally in us. So for example, if I take books and I kind of, put them all like strange, and I put them like there next to me, it reflects immediately a sense of heaviness, because sharchi means a heavy feeling. But if we take the books and we literally put them like this, and we put them in a book stand or a bookcase, then it creates order. And when you come even in a library and you see all these books, there are thousands of books, but you still feel calm and peaceful enough to study there, or to think about issues to solve your life. So it is all about the order around us. That think about the mountains. I mean, they are for thousands of years in that order. They are standing proud and beautiful, energy there, and there is a calmness about it. And so if you have chaos around you, then it's literally your brain waves, what we have seen, goes into that chaotic state, and that you attract more to be in that beta brainwave state where you have chaos around you, you cannot concentrate very well, you become more open to fears, you don't see so much as solutions in life because you are literally more connecting in also with your reptilian brainwaves, your reptilian brain aspect. Yeah. So you go in survival when there's chaos around us. Yeah. And then if you organize something, you'll create order, you let go of things that you do not longer need anymore, papers, books. I know that's a hard one sometimes for people, but things that are not longer creating a future for you or not creating a well-being in your presence, in your present time, you let go of that, then literally you create more that alpha brainwaves and your focus goes to the frontal cortex, where you literally start looking for solutions. There's a creativity aspect that starts happening. And decluttering in itself, it's really interesting. Each time I declutter, I always find little things. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, that was an idea I had. Oh, I could do that. I remember finding an envelope with $1,000 that I still don't remember. I put that there, but I found it. I was like, oh, and my thing is always when I find money, when I declutter, it is for charity. So there was $1,000 for charity. So it was like really interesting that we forget about the heaviness that physical things, if they accumulate and they are disorganized, they are accumulating also a disharmony in our energy field, in that energy universe, where we then start again attracting more chaos of, so not about situations, I would say, chaos of people, a chaos of conversations. While we organize things around us, we are becoming like in that library or in the mountains, a peace, a calmness that we then attract again similar experiences or this kind of people or this kind of solutions.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm thinking when we're physically relaxed, we're emotionally calm, and we have mental clarity, we're really in an ideal state. And if we're piling things up, it's out of an indecisiveness, a lack of clarity, a fear that I might make a mistake, whatever it might be. So I really appreciate it. It gives me some insight. I've often seen artists before they start a big project, spend 2 or 3 days just cleaning their space. And once they do, then they can begin to create. Well, correct. This has been wonderful. And I want to ask if there is a suggestion from you as we finish up for our listener to really find a path of emotional well-being, physical calm, mental clarity, a kind of a thought that you might give to us to help elevate energetically your life right now, today, right where we are?
Well, one of the things I share with people is the meditation, the tubes of light. Yeah. Yes. That was given to me by my spiritual master when I was 7, that still till today I practice. And this is like 53 years later. But it's really about bringing in the light. Yeah. And so, because when we are in a difficult situation, we don't see the light of the sun. We are not connecting in with that mountain chi, with that higher frequency. Just by sitting in meditation or closing your eyes with beautiful music and just imagine that you are in the sunlight, that you are in that light of the sun, and feeling that that light is filling up your whole body, even your whole energy field all around you, it calms you down. And it's like your brain is like immediately going back to a sunny day on the beach or a sunny walk you made perhaps with your parents. Like we go back to these moments of sunshine. And when we're in the sunshine, we're actually in the full spectrum of the light. Yeah, so that we always see reflecting in a rainbow, for example. So the moment we are focusing on light, we are never focusing on just one color of the rainbow. We are always connecting in with that full white spectrum, and it immediately harmonizes your chakras, it harmonizes your brain waves, because you are in a beautiful space. So that's always the first step, of course, of Tubes of Light. You can continue with that in that meditation, but it's really it helps you to, just by thinking about it. Yeah. For example, my daughter was in a plane, and it was a lot of turbulence, and she was like, getting quite afraid. So she immediately is like, oh, let me do my Tubes of Light. Let me put myself back in the light, even if it's at night, it doesn't matter. And if she's in a turbulence, it's just calming yourself in that field. But that's the same what we're doing for our home. If you allow the light to come in, like people that are in a house and they're always closing the windows or the blinds, they'll bring the light in, put lights on, put a candle on. It's the same frequency. If people don't feel so great, putting a candle on or creating some warm, cozy light around you calms your vibration. And because of that, you will start opening up to a more positive energy universe.
Gorgeous. And it leads to enlightenment after all, right?
Yes.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Marie. Always such a gift to have your beautiful energy and presence in my life. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast.
Thank you. And please send my love to Libby also.
Will do. Peace and blessings. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Marie Diamond. You can learn more about Marie at mariediamond.com. That's Mariediamond.com. And now in the second part of the podcast, it's just you and me. I'll tell you how to use the Paraliminal sessions in the MINDTRX app to easily handle obstacles and move forward toward the success you want, especially as it relates to Marie's message. If you're new to the relaxing Paraliminal audio sessions, they use breakthrough technologies to activate your whole mind and in only 20 minutes to help improve any area of your life. Let's get going. Welcome to our follow-on conversation with Marie Diamond and our dialogue about raising our energy vibration as energetic beings and how we can make an understanding that our life as energetic beings in an energetic universe can actually improve the quality of our lives in our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual lives. So when I thought about the dialogue that Marie and I had, there were 4 different areas that came to mind. The first was being able to raise our vibration. We talked about how we could do that with changing in the space around us, with what we're doing with our mindset, and so on. Second is, how do we actually break out of a negative energy pattern that may be holding us? The third is an idea that she suggested, which is exercising our chi muscle. I have to tell you, I'd never heard of the use of a chi muscle before, but this natural energy of the universe, the chi energy that's everywhere, we can develop our capacity to actually move that energy. And the final is the idea of being able to be open to possibility. When I think about this first area, raising our vibration level, this is everything that Marie Diamond focused on when she was in the movie called The Secret. It's this idea of the law of attraction. And I created a paraliminal called Living the Law of Attraction with Jack Canfield. And so that would be an ideal paraliminal. just in general, any area of your life, you know you want a higher level outcome, a better, more improved life in any area, that's going to help you focus on it and actually move your energy to this higher level. What I loved about what Marie said is the highest level energy is in all things. It's all around us. It's just whatever we're doing that's keeping us at a lower level, that can shift. The second area is the idea of getting out of negative energy. I talked a little bit about the idea of addiction, but we also talked about piles of clutter that tend to attract more of that clutter. It causes us to down-regulate into the old survival brain, the reptilian brain, as she talked about it. And what we want to do is we want to get up into the higher brain frequencies, and what she described as that prefrontal cortex, where we have access to creativity, we have access to the big picture and possibilities. So there are kind of two directions I would take your paraliminal listening. One would be to get out of a negative state, and that would be great to use what I did a paraliminal called break the habit. So you have a habit of being in that state. Let's break that habit. Now, you can't ever break a habit. You can only establish a new one. So session A is about recognizing what that habit is, thinking about what it is you would like, and then purposely intentionally focusing on a new habit, a new way of being in that area of your life. So it's break the habit. To move energetically to a higher level, we can live in a simplified life, clutter-free, and the paraliminal simplicity is excellent for that. But even to a higher level still, it's the paraliminal joy. That's the energy of the heart, and living wholeheartedly, living at that high energetic state, that's available to us every single day, no matter what the circumstances are. There's a book called Joy that was written by the Dalai Lama. It's a beautiful book. And you might consider some additional resources, but that paraliminal, it's really sweet. Opens up your heart energy, gets you to vibrate at a higher level, puts you in contact with those higher brain centers. The next is this idea of exercising our chi muscle. And the paraliminal that I did with Lisa Nichols called No Matter What, she talks about exercising the muscle. And, it's these character muscles that we have. So I believe you could listen to that paraliminal quite effectively, kind of take charge of your ability to take charge of your life energetically. You're an energetic being living in an energetic universe. Don't get stuck in this world of objects, 3D, right? 3 dimensions of space, the 4th dimension of time. You can transcend all of that and really bring the highest level of energy into living your life the way you want to live it. And that brings us to the 4th area. This is being open to the full measure of possibility that's available to you. And here I'm going to mention a paraliminal I often do mention, and that's the prosperity paraliminal. That's our access to the abundance of energy, time, money, relationships, whatever it is that we need. We have access to an abundance of that resource. The prosperity paraliminal really helps you focus your intention on that and open up your access to that. The second paraliminal I would recommend in this area is one that I did with Bill Harris. It's called Fresh Start. Really love that one. When I listen to it, it's just, I guess the best description, it makes me feel like no matter what's happened up until now, anything is possible now. I mean, it sounds like an aphorism. Today is the beginning of the rest of your life, right? I mean, that's all fine and good. But that paraliminal, I tell you, just puts you right there. That this moment is an opportunity for a fresh start to create your life as you're choosing. Now, we talked about physically, emotionally, mentally improving our lives. And yet there is a subtext throughout our entire dialogue with Marie. It's about spirituality. There's a spiritual energy. However you relate to that, doesn't matter. If you want to relate to it from a quantum physical way, that's fine. Doesn't matter. But you have access to it. You have the perceptual abilities that you can awaken. You certainly have the ability to leverage this energy, not just at the explicit order, the appearance of things, but at a deeper level. Start to interact with the very stuff that holds this universe together. You're in a universe, and the universe is in you, and there's no place where you start that the universe isn't. So you're part of all of that energy, and it's all available to you. So go on and create the life that you choose to live. Thanks so much for being a part of this podcast. Love being here with you. Be sure to tune in. That's all for now. Thank you for joining me today. I applaud your willingness to maximize your potential. You can easily use the Paraliminal audio sessions in the MINDTRX app to stimulate your non-conscious mind, that is your inner mind, to reduce any resistance in your life and to propel you toward the success you want. Visit MINDTRX.com to learn more. These amazing audio tools have helped millions, and I encourage you to bring them into your world today. Be sure to be back for more episodes of the MINDTRX podcast. You'll find insightful conversations with authors, experts, and thought leaders, all devoted to improving your life's experience. Thank you again for being here on our MINDTRX podcast.